Latvia does not have and had never the problem with national minorities. We are, however, challenged by the demographic and hence political consequences of the Soviet occupation. Right now, as I speak, in Latvia, signatures are being collected to call for a change of the constitution, introducing Russian as a second official language. About 100,000 new citizens had already signed this demand. It's more than clear, if it will be accepted, the Russian as an official language will seriously undermine the positions of Latvian language and put the very existence of Latvia as a European nation-state in question. These worrying developments are a direct result of the Soviet occupation and of the fact that its consequences had not been properly addressed. What we also observe today, it's the increased activity on the part of Russia, which tries to manipulate its compatriots in Latvia. They worsen the situation and place unnecessary obstacles to a successful integration process. Nevertheless, I'm hopeful because there are a number of Russians, Poles, Ukrainians and representatives of other minorities who consider Latvia their home, who speak Latvian and who cherish our culture and traditions. The European Parliament has called on Russia to recognize the occupation of the Baltic countries by the Soviet Union. Up to now, this call has not been answered. On the contrary, we see the opposite signs: glorification of the Soviet past and justification of the Soviet crimes. Unfortunately, many people in Russia still believe that the Baltic states belong to Russia and that their independence is just temporary. Let us not forget that 72 years ago, on this very day, the 28th of November, the Soviet government denounced the non-aggression treaty with Finland and moved in to occupy the country by force. The Soviet Union is gone, but the imperialistic leanings are still there. The recent Georgian war is a living example of that. Given the realities we face today, it is of utmost importance that Europe stands united, not only as an economic bloc, but also as a cultural and historic entity. We share the common European values of freedom, democracy. We share the common European identity. Yes, our continent has been divided by the Iron Curtain for half a century. The Western and Eastern Europe have had different historical experience. But today we are one. If Europe wants to stay united, it must work towards creating a united historical memory of its citizens. All its citizens, both in the West and East of the continent. I have been a member of European Parliament since 2004. I have put my effort in building a common understanding of the European history and recognition of the equally criminal character of both Nazi and Soviet totalitarian regimes. And today we see a number of very positive outcomes of this work mentioned by my colleague. A good example is this decision of the European Parliament to proclaim a European Day of Remembrance for victims of Stalinism and Nazism on August 23. And as Sandra mentioned, if only 5 countries had mentioned this fact in their national legislation, it's still a European Day. And we can't erase this from the map again. In 2008, I persuaded the European Parliament to support the creation of the documentary The Soviet Story. Since its premiere in Brussels, the film has had a massive resonance the world over. It has been translated into 30 languages and shown by television from Asia to North America. In Russia, It generated a hysteria which resulted in the pro-Kremlin youth burning the effigy of the film's director outside the Latvian embassy. And I'm very happy and honored that today the film director, Mr. Edvins Snore, is today with us. And I can't say even more. He's done a great job, and I'm convinced that you will have an opportunity to talk to him and say good words about this film. Because according to The Economist magazine, the Soviet story was the most powerful antidote yet to the sanitation of the past. The film is a breakthrough in the field of European history documentaries, which contributes to the change of the current mindset of Europeans regarding history. And I'm very delighted that this evening it will be shown in the national television of Lithuania for the third time. The legacy of communism is painful. It's a tragic page for every nation, which was subjected by the communist experiment. But up to now, the Soviet crimes had escaped legal persecution by an international body. The Nazis have had their Nuremberg. The communists haven't. We needed this Nuremberg II, Nuremberg II. We need international legal framework for it. And I remember that few years ago, Mr. Zingeris was there, Mrs. Kalniet was there. We were in the premises of Commission, and all we were the same opinion. We need this. And I'm very thankful to my colleagues who very much proposed this idea. Earlier this year, a platform of the European Memory and Conscience was established, as you heard already, in Prague by institutions from 8 European countries. And I was honored to sign the founding document on the part of Latvian Occupation Research Society. And this is a real network, is a real possibility of cooperation. Because I strongly believe that by common efforts, only by common efforts, we can bring about the universal condemnation of the criminal Soviet regime. In memory of all those killed and all those never born, I have no doubt in my mind that one day the truth and justice will come and will prevail. Thank you very much.